So over the last week I've been working on the song. I'll give you a sneak peek now. Actually, before we do, I just want to show you these. These are my Yeti slippers. It's winter here in New Zealand. These made out of sheepskin, sheep fur inside. Really, really warm. Just wanted to tell you that really. You can probably buy them online, but if you're in the US or the UK, you probably get them by about winter time if you order them now. Anyway, this is the song I've been doing. So that song's full of bar chords. It's literally all bar chords, and I chose it because it helps me practice them. And if you recognise it, let me know in the comments below. But what I often do when I'm learning guitar online and I struggle with a topic or a technique is that I go to more than one source, usually more than one video on YouTube, to try and just find that secret sauce, that magic, to get the technique right so that it sounds okay. And so in this circumstance, I thought I'd do it with bar chords. There's so many different, obviously, guitar YouTubers out there who offer excellent advice. So I sat down and I went through loads and loads and loads of guitar teachers and looked through what they said, their techniques, how they all coincided with each other and how they didn't, because some quite differed, you might be surprised. And then I put it all together. I kind of squished it all together and kind of made this platter of bar chords for the beginners. So think of this as kind of a curated bar chord instructional video. I'm not a guitar teacher, but what I've learnt from this I think might actually help you. So just a quick word to say, if you haven't joined me before, my channel is about my guitar progress. I share tips along the way, like this video, and also I do beginner guitar course reviews. So if you're interested in that, hit the like and subscribe button and notification bell, and let's get into it. Right, so there's a lot of great information I've captured, and I've managed to separate it into 4 sections. You've got the guitar itself, you've got body position, hand position, and finally an effective way to practice it. So let's get into it. The first thing to understand if you're a beginner is the action on a guitar, and this is particularly for acoustic guitars. So the action is a distance between the string and the fretboard. Now you can adjust that using the truss rod, which is just located under kind of here. You can do it yourself, but if you're not confident, take it to a guitar tech, a guitar shop, and they can do it easily for you. If you can lower the action on it, it makes it easier to perform a bar chord. I found this through my playing. I had my guitar set up and it was a lot easier to play after that. The second one for the guitar itself is the neck position. So you don't want to be obviously playing like that, because it gives you an awkward angle for your wrist and hand. What you want to be doing is having the neck slightly angled up so it's easily accessible for your finger. Kind of obvious, but sometimes you might not realize that and you might have it drooping way down here. So that's one you can implement. Thirdly, and this is probably one of the best tips I've found, is to use your body as a fulcrum. So what I mean by that is if you pull in with your elbow and it levers against your body, it pulls the neck out. Right? If you put enough pressure on that and you put your hand in place, say at a G position, on the G there with an E chord, and you hold that, if I take my thumb off, I can actually play a bar chord without even having my thumb on the back of the neck. So you're leveraging your body, pulling it out. You have to put quite a lot of pressure, and you can form a bar chord. That's probably one of the best, and when you combine that with the other tips I'm about to get into, it's really effective. So the next one's to do with body position. Don't have your shoulder all kind of scrunched up, trying to form a chord like this. I'm over exaggerating it clearly, but if you do, obviously that's going to make it all tense, and you might not be able to form your bar chord properly. So drop your shoulder, relax it, loosey-goosey, and it helps. Another one is don't have your chicken wing hanging out like this. Don't be chicken winging it. Bring your elbow right into your rib cage. It helps you give you like a solid foundation position, and it also, what it does with your hand is it brings it into position on the fretboard a lot more, because if you're open like that, it actually feels really uncomfortable on your shoulder, and I find at the top of my wrist here. So this is a lot of the guitar teachers say, and I completely get it. Feels a lot more comfortable when I do that. So the next one is thumb position, which many of the guitar teachers tell is vital. So what you have to do, is if you can see that, is to have it kind of pointing up towards the sky, the roof. Not really like that because it'd be really uncomfortable. So kind of like that. So the next one is about getting your wrist position right. If you look at this side on, you can actually push your wrist forward just slightly, not too much because it'd be really hurting your wrist if you're doing a constant shape like that, but just a little bit, and it makes it a lot more comfortable. Don't start by trying to play an F chord, which is this on this first fret. It's actually one of the hardest bar chords to do. If you go down to the 3rd fret, which would then be a G, it's a lot easier to sort of practice your technique. So I'd start there. When you're forming the E-shaped bar chord, put your E shape first. So make sure you can get that, then put your bar down. The next one's lay your finger on top of the fret, so it's kind of in the middle of your finger, and then roll your index finger off it. Just so your fingers then tuck just behind the fret. The next one I was absolutely guilty of throughout my learning, and I'm so glad I watched these videos now to kind of help me improve, and that is that I used to have my fingers kind of rolling them. Not just the index finger, which I was doing the bar, but the other fingers as well, and they'd get scrunched up and they'd roll kind of. I was trying so hard with such intent to kind of twist into the fretboard to get enough purchase to get a sound, but it was unnecessary. If you do all the other techniques like using your body as a fulcrum and rolling back your finger just off and tuck behind, it's absolutely fine. That being said, the pressure that you do apply with your finger is kind of not straight back on the guitar, but kind of at an angle. So just imagine you're pointing off to the corner of, in this example, in the corner of this room, into that green light over there like that. That's where you're applying the pressure back. If I just went straight back, less consistent. So you're kind of twisting into it, like I said, with your index finger and not the rest of your fingers, and the pressure is going into the corner. One thing that all the guitar teachers seem to agree on, and completely makes sense to me, is that strength comes with practice. It's like anything, when you do an exercise, you get better the more you do it. The repetition builds that strength, that muscle memory, that position, so that you're able to recreate that bar chord every time you pick up the guitar. A really good way of doing that, obviously, is by getting a song and learning a song that has lots of bar chords, like the one I was doing at the beginning of this one, and that was Creep by Radiohead, if you didn't recognize it. So what all the guitar YouTubers recommend is practicing it specifically. And the one that I found kind of sat across all of them was doing it in small chunks to start with. So you start by doing it for a minute, then you probably have a break for a couple of minutes and then do it a minute again. A bit like reps when you do an exercise. But you do that one day, the next day try and do it again. If it's starting to become easier, then you up the amount of minutes that you're practicing it in one go. So if I was doing bar chords here, you could go up and down the neck. I wouldn't start at the F like I said, but if you started at the G and then you jump down a fret, go down 5 and then come back up 5 and do that for a minute. And then the next day perhaps try and do it for 3 minutes or 2 minutes or 4 minutes and then push up to 5 minutes. And they recommend doing that solidly over 2 weeks, and then you should be in a really good place with your bar chords. Finally, there are alternatives to bar chords. You don't even have to play bar chords. But for me, I feel like I have to tackle it. If I'm going to get anywhere with the guitar, I have to overcome these obstacles. And I think a lot of us do feel the same. So a lot of those tips, if you follow that, I'm sure there'll be something that works for you. And hopefully having it all in one place means you don't have to keep jumping around and trying to figure something out. So let me know if it works for you. I'd be really interested. Until the next one, cheers.